Hi, this is James Garden, Senior Tech Geek, and I'm at NAB 2019, and I want to talk about cloud for a bit. Now cloud, I've been here, I've looked around, there's a lot of service providers who are in the cloud. An example of this is that Google and Amazon, I'll put some cutaways here, have very big booths this year, and on those booths, they're showing all their partners who are developing software which sits on their infrastructure, which is considered sort of cloud software or cloud-based services. And there's also most of the, up here on the upper level in the South Hall, a lot of the stands I see are very much selling software or cloud-based solutions. So in some sense, cloud has really blossomed into the production community, but it really depends on what part of the community that you come from. As someone who's from the high-end, cinemas where I come from, high-end color grading, etc., 4K, high dynamic range, lossless sort of codecs coming out of cameras, huge files. The cloud really doesn't work 100% with those sort of workflows. Moving that content around at that size costs more than actually just buying the equipment and doing it on the facility. So it really depends on what part of the market you're in. If you're in cinema sort of, post-production or production, then the cloud is not so ubiquitous with you. Yes, there are tools in the cloud that helps you do sharing and collaboration and peeling off portions of shots for a special effect to other facilities and making all that work more seamlessly and easy, but there's still a lot of facility-only sort of stuff you need to do, on-prem sort of equipment that you can't not do because of the quality and the processing required. But that is type of changing, but I'm still very skeptical in seeing that really moving on anywhere soon due to the fact that 10 gigabit or 40 gigabit network connections to Amazon or other cloud-based service providers is extremely expensive even today, and also not available in most of the world, so there's still going to be a great need for on facility-based equipment and processes. But when we move over the top of that, for nearly every production that we're doing, once you go into distribution, that's where cloud is really kicking goals, especially here at NAB. You've got all the streaming companies, and there's a plethora of them. Google and Amazon, they've got a lot of facilities on that, and also based on standards such as the IMF standard, which is really blossoming into how we will do deliveries in the future. Now, IMF it's been a very good way for the streaming providers to actually source a single sort of deliverable and use that to answer the needs for multiple regions. And it allows them to centralize that management of all the different files need to build those deliverables for each of the regions. That's really changed some of the dynamics of being a post house. We don't have to do so much work in producing all the regional versions. More to the fact you reduce the main master, and the differences are then uploaded into an IMF cloud or some sort, or service for that particular content owner. That's a big change. But otherwise, if you're a broadcaster, an esports, those sort of people, they're mostly doing streaming and real-time editing. It's not really my area so much, but you can really see them taking advantage of cloud. A lot of the big networks have or are already using what's called IP fabric type switching networks, where they've replaced all their SDI and traditional infrastructure with IP fabrics or very fast switches, 100 gigabit, 400 gigabit switches, and they basically share all that, because the big thing about IP fabric is it can be used for everything. You can move pictures over it, you can move images over it, you can move data over it. So it's also fast for all your data transmission in your post-production or moving your pictures, and that's where the IP fabric is becoming very useful and very important to the larger networks, because they can see a definite gain and a definite advantage in being able to reutilize all that infrastructure for different purposes, and not having to buy this for that, a specific box for a specific purpose. It also allows those infrastructures to upgrade to 8K or whatever new standard comes along without having to change any equipment, because when it gets onto this IP fabric, All it knows is data. It doesn't care if it's a different form of data, a different format, a different codec. They can come along anytime down the track and they can take advantage of that. So IP Fabric is going very strong, and the adoption into the larger networks is very high. Where we fall down is in the man on the ground. We're still using cameras with SDI, with just old school ways of moving data around. So when it does get into the facilities, etc., we're still using all these older tech tools like SDI monitors, SDI editing systems, SDI cameras, SDI converters. But once it gets into IP, theoretically that can be all done in a bunch of DAOs sitting in the corner, and those DAOs can basically do anything based on the software you load onto them. Now I can really see, I can feel a reluctance for some of the manufacturers on the stand this year are not keen on moving to this type of IP infrastructure, because it will democratize it and potentially it will thin the flock, in my opinion. And so I think they're all being very reluctant to move there, but eventually that will happen. For example, when the iPhone came out and software started to come out on the iPhone, the prices dived. That sort of trend they saw when everything went software in that area, I expect is giving the people second thoughts who make all these sort of SDI products going forward. I'm sure that they're reluctant to move forward. So there's a lot of push and shove here. There's a lot of disruption to come for a lot of the manufacturers here. So I just wanted to paint that picture while I was here as something that was definitely something to note and something to keep an eye out for if you are upgrading or considering what you're going to buy and how long it will last for you as a producer, as a cameraman, as a production facility, or as a TV station, etc. Anyway, that's James Gardner at NAB 2019. Bye for now.